All right, welcome to the Myokinetix Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Ryan McPherson, a.k.a. Mr. November, a.k.a. the Firefighter of the Year. I'm just giving you all these accolades, man, just because you've been such an awesome person to have in the clinic. Your vibe, your energy, you come here, you work out super hard, and it's just happy to have you on the podcast, dude. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor, honestly.
So before we get into it, let's introduce the guest. Introduce yourself to our listener, like who you are, your background, and what is it that you do.
Okay. Ryan McPherson, a.k.a. Ryan Mac.
There you go.
I grew up in West Orange. Played sports growing up through high school and middle school. Played basketball, baseball, and football. I ended up becoming a Hall of Famer at my high school for baseball and basketball. I would have with football, but I got hurt my freshman year. I got a little stinger, and then I was like, no, that's it. That's it for me. So then I just played baseball and basketball growing up through high school. And then I ended up going to Fairleigh Dickinson University. I played basketball there. I could have played baseball somewhere else, but I decided I'm just going to stick with basketball. Mm-hmm. And I was going to a good school, and I studied business management. I was like, I'll get out 4 years. I wasn't thinking about playing basketball pro or anything. Mm-hmm. And then I thought I was going to get a good job coming out of high school. That's when we had like the, the little recession, like 2009,
2008, like the housing crash,
everything. And then I was like, oh no, what am I going to do after college? But I ended up becoming a Hall of Famer at my college too as well. For basketball. And then I got out of school. I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, I got a degree, not doing anything. So I ended up playing for the Harlem Globetrotters. I actually played against them. Traveled the world, played. Then I didn't really want to do it because I was like a professional loser because I just lost to them all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, maybe I'll hire an agent to play pro somewhere else. But I was like, no, I just started working. And then I just kept playing basketball. And then I was just working really hard, working 2 jobs. And then my uncles, who were firefighters in East Orange, they was like, oh, why not? Take the test. Take the fire test, You never know what can happen. I was like, I don't really want to be a firefighter. It wasn't really on my top things to do. Mm-hmm. But then I took the test. I trained hard for it. There was a written and a physical. The physical part was what was counted as like the highest part of your score. Mm-hmm. So I was really working on that part. My uncles would take me to like this training facility that they trained for the physical. And basically I just practiced on certain obstacles of the course. I ran the course about once, and then when I got to the real date for it, it was a breeze. Like smoked it, went right through it. Everyone was like, how did you do that? Like, how'd you spin the cap off like that? Like it was, and I was like, I'm just really good at it. I didn't tell them I was practicing.
Yeah.
But I did well on that. And then all the guys that I went with for the physical part, everyone got on the fire department a year before me. I was like, oh no. Oh. I was like, oh man, what? Am I ever going to get on the job? Like, it took 4 years to get on.
So it went from something you didn't want to do, and then you saw someone, all the other people got it, and you're like, damn, now I want this.
Now I want this. Yeah. Now I want this. And it took me 4 years. I got a call just randomly. I was like, do you want the firefighter? Well, we have an opening position now. Do you want the fire? Yes. Left my job, my current job, and and then that's all she wrote from there. And funny thing is, I have like a picture when I was younger. Uh-huh. There's like me holding a hose, and like an older firefighter was like helping me like holding the nozzle, and I was like, oh well, I guess it's meant to be now, like since I'm a firefighter now. But
wow, that's nuts, dude. It's like crazy. Subconscious.
Yeah,
that's what you probably wanted your whole life, and then you just discover it.
Just discovered it.
That's great, man. I definitely, there's so many things that I didn't even know you were doing, like the Harlem Globetrotter thing. Yeah. That's nuts. Couple things I want to touch on. Obviously, in the beginning, you were a multi-sport athlete, and clearly, like with the kids that we've seen, like they are very focused on just one sport all the time, this and that. I want you to dive into a little bit about your athletic career, because clearly you're a Hall of Famer in college and also in high school. Do you think playing multiple sport really contributes to that? And if so, like what aspect of the athleticism that it helped you to be, a Hall of Famer in college?
Well, I was always athletic growing up. Like just messing around like with my friends. Like we would play just like tag football or tackle football or anything. Just playing every sport back then. I guess like back then everyone played every sport.
Everyone's outside.
Everyone was outside.
Yeah.
We played outside. We did everything. Nowadays, I just see like everyone's just focused on like just one sport. No one's like a multi-sport athlete now. But that background in me being athletic with basketball, being able to move side to side, football, and then it just transferred like basically to the baseball diamond. Like I never like really practiced baseball. I was just naturally gifted in it. Like if I kept playing baseball, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
But everyone says that, but I was just like talented, and you just worked hard at. I just worked hard at it, and I was basically gifted. I was blessed, honestly. I was blessed.
Yeah, but with the element of having gifted, being athletic to begin with, obviously there's a hard work element into it, especially when you get to the college level, right? Because in college, everyone's good.
Yes.
So how do you shift that kind of mindset, right? Because if you're the guy in high school, most people, and I guess all the high school athletes who are listening to this, if you're the guy in high school, you're the girls in high school, when you get to college, you're going to have a very, very humbling experience real fast.
Oh, I did. I definitely did. I was the guy in high school, and going into college, I didn't know what to expect, really. Like we would play like pickup basketball in like the summertime, and I was like, oh, okay, I can play with these guys. It's nothing. Like practices are fine. It's different. Like it's more intense. And then when it came to like the game time, the game is so much different. It's so much faster, up and down, and that adjustment. It took me basically all year to figure out like the game speed and everything. Like practice is fine. Like just kill everybody in practice, like nothing. But I couldn't transfer that to when the lights were on, when game time was happening. Like freshman year, like I was dealing with injuries too. I kept spraining my ankle. Like I would finally get it, and then a setback. But I just kept working hard, kept persevering through everything, and eventually it just clicked. But it's a different beast going from high school to college. Like everyone was the guy on their team basically, and now you're competing for a spot that you have to want it if you really want to play, like, because I didn't want to sit the bench. Like no, who wants to sit the bench? I want to be out there. I want to play. I want to help out the team.
Yeah.
But
what do you have to do differently? Transition from high school to college? Because I was just listening to an interview with Derrick Henry, and they were asking like, oh yeah, like what's the difference between playing in the NFL versus playing in the SEC? And Derrick Henry's just like, it's just so much faster. It's a whole different game. So what did you have to do? Like, if you can impart some advice on some kids that's about to go to college as your first year, like what, if you were able to go back in time, what would you do differently?
Ooh, I would have worked a lot harder, basically. Worked a lot harder, and I would have spent more time trying to learn more of the game, I would say. Because I just went out there and played. I was just talented,
Yeah.
But I would just work ethic. That's what I would say. Just work hard and just do it. Like that's all I could say, really.
Yeah, I think there's a different level of like being athletic and actually have the knowledge of the sport that you play, because those are two different things, right? Because they talk about like sport IQs all the time, knowing what's going on the floor, knowing what's going on the field, and then being able to apply your athleticism based on the situation.
Yes. Basically, IQ is huge. Like even playing now with players, like just pick up basketball, people don't understand the game of basketball. They just go out there and want to do whatever they want to do, like just throw crazy passes and take crazy shots,
Yeah.
but they don't actually understand the game. Like, once you understand the game and how players move and where you want to be on the floor, like in college, you should know every position that a player's ran for. Like, you should know where they're going to be. What's the next play? Where's the next pass going? What's the defense going to do? How if you're playing defense on the play, how are you going to guard the play? And so you know how to basically attack the defense, and you can basically just run the play perfect.
Yeah, and I think that's contribute to like if there's any like life principle I live by, it's just doing the boring work just really well. And studying the film is probably the most boringest thing you can do as an athlete when you just want to go and play.
Yeah.
But it's probably the most crucial thing, because at the end of the day, if athleticism is at the playing field, now how do you differentiate yourself is how well do you understand the game?
Yes, definitely. Like even film, like I study film, because film, you can see what your opponent's doing. You should know what they're doing and how the person reacts to the ball, how they dribble and everything, and which way they're going, and just I don't know. The film is important. Like knowing the plays, knowing the defensive plays, the offensive plays.
Yeah, and I mean that's just so crazy, man. Because you're obviously been team sport your whole life, from baseball, basketball. Being a fighter now, that's also a team sport in some way, but the stake, and I would argue, is extremely high because your life is on the line.
Yeah.
So being a team sport guy the whole time, how do you able to transition what you learn on the court or on the field to what you do now on a daily basis?
Oh, firefighting is all teamwork. There's 17 guys per tour. 17 guys, that's your brotherhood right there. That's your family. So if something happens, you have to have everyone's back. So it's very brotherhood. Like if somebody goes down, you're picking that person up, and you're going in with somebody, you're coming out with somebody. You're not going in alone. You're not freelancing or anything. You're just, everybody's working together to accomplish a task. That's happening. From like a motor vehicle accident to a fire to a medical call or something, like anything.
Yeah, and in firefight, like obviously in your job, do people have designated roles of what they do in a certain scenario? It's just like on the court, right? If you're a point guard, you're doing a certain thing. You're a shooting guard, you're doing something.
Yes. Like let's say we have a fire. The first due engine is gonna find the fire, and they're gonna have the hose, and they're gonna attempt to put the fire out. Then the ladder company, I'm on the ladder now. We do search and rescue, search and ventilation. So we're searching for if there are any victims or anything, or basically anything, whatever's in there. And then we're ventilating. So when the water's on the fire, you ventilate the window. You take the windows out so you can get a little visual, because you can't see anything. Yeah. Inside, so you
can't see, you can't breathe. Yeah.
We have our face pieces on, that helps us, but you can't see. It's pitch black in there, like it's dark. But and then like the second due engine company that comes basically hooks up to the fire hydrant to supply more water to the first engine that's coming in. So everyone's working as a team, a unit, to basically accomplish the goal. So
I imagine that communication is absolutely the key.
Important. It's definitely key. You have to have on the radio. You have to be able to communicate. Tell our tour commander, our chief, what's going on inside. Like they don't know what's going on inside. So we have to give like a visual aid to what's going on. Like if there's any, let's say floors that's missing floors or anything, or if it's unbearable conditions inside. But everyone's communicating on the radio. We try to keep the line clear if there's an issue, but communication is definitely very important.
Yeah, I appreciate it on so many levels. Like that you guys are doing this at high stake, and the fact that you're operating as a team, whether it's sport or in a high danger situation, is I do it obviously running a physical therapy company. Like we operate as a team on so many different levels as well. And I always draw analogy from you guys or from sport references, right? Because we have different departments, and communication is a big thing for us too. Like if you see Danny for Acu and then you see someone else for PT, like we need to communicate what's going on. So that way to make sure that we have the same outcome, that you get the best treatment. And obviously we have media team, we have marketing team, all that, like all of that little pieces go into together. And I think one skill that almost like young people now don't get as much is they don't get the ability or an opportunity to practice how to communicate effectively, right? And think about this. When you and I were younger, we were outside all the time. And plus, you have to communicate. We grew up in an era where you have to call someone's house. Hey, I'm going to be at the mall or I'm going to be at a park during this time. Meet me there. And you hang up. And then you just somehow miraculously find each other, right? Imagine, like there's no cell phone.
We didn't have cell phones back then. Like it was, you coming out to play? Yeah. Or you go to somebody's house and ring the doorbell or something. Like it was a different time, different era now.
No, but I think those hardship made us a better communicators.
I 100% agree with you on that.
They have us too easy, man. Text, we used to have to pay to text. Remember that? It was like a quarter for a text.
25 cents. Yeah. And then the beeper, the pager.
No, the pager is like, you know how Twitter has like limitation on how many texts you can do? Pager is the same thing. You have to get so precise at what you're trying to say that you have to know how to word this at limitation amount, so that way you can send and get your message across, right? This is not going to be like all this long text. No, like the long texting only happened because now we're allowed to freeform all those things, right? Everything. And like now, like what I've noticed is that it, like with COVID sometimes, because people were kind of stay at home, they don't get a chance to communicate as much. Now, like when we have kids that come in and we're trying to talk to them, they're having a hard time articulating what's going on and everything else. And I think that's impact them on so many levels. I think the one that have advantage is the one that still plays sports.
Oh yeah, because you have to communicate playing sports. You can't just be mute or like you can't do anything like that. It's just so my boy has a son. He's in high school and he barely speaks. Like he just doesn't talk. I don't know how is that. He plays football too. Yeah. He just doesn't speak. He's so quiet and everything. I just don't get it. But he talks to his parents, but like everyone else, he just doesn't speak.
And I think I can only speak this on my behalf as a guy, and as when I was younger, like your words matter so much, especially like, you don't have to talk all the time, but when you say something, you have to really put some weight behind it. If you're gonna say you do something, you have to do it. And that's the generation how I was kind of brought up. Like you can't just go willy-nilly say you're gonna do something and you don't do it. And I think now there's less of that, and obviously us having this conversation will open a lot of reflection for people who listen to it, that like, hey, maybe what you can do to develop yourself as a young professional or a young athlete from the beginning is that you got to hone in your communication at all times.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Like my mother always said, you have to communicate more. You have to communicate more. You have to and she drilled that into me growing up. She's everything. She's the best.
Yeah.
But she drilled that into me and helped me be a better person of who I am today.
Mm-hmm. And as far as like, obviously, when you play so many sports, there's different verbiage for everything. How do you transition? How do you switch? How do you go from basketball mode to baseball mode?
Ooh, with baseball, really. As far as what you said, communication.
Mm-hmm.
On baseball, there's not a lot of communication in baseball, really. Well, I guess there's communication when, like I say, there's a fly ball. You have to talk. You have to speak because you'll run right into somebody, and that has happened before. Yeah. So you gotta say me, and then that. I have a story for that too. Yeah. That has happened to me, but you have to communicate in baseball. Like during the plays, like play calls, everyone on the field has to know what's going on, like what kind of setup you're doing, like where the I forgot how to do baseball. The setup on the diamond and like the play calls. You have to pay attention to the third base coach for signs and everything. So you're all communicating like with each other. So communicating is more, I guess, what should I say? Handsy, like
it's more like body language.
Body language on the baseball field, and like basketball is more verbal because you can get drilled by a screen if you don't say, oh, there's a screen up top, and you just get drilled, and you're like, why didn't you call out the pick or whatever? Like it's like that has happened too for me, but that communication is more verbal for basketball, and it's key. And then with the plays, calling out the plays, you're not really. You're saying, oh, 1, 2, 2, 2, but you're calling out the play. Like it's more verbal than, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, with sport, man, and I love working with like athletic populations, like in the clinic. I think one thing I always picked up is that all our athletes, as I see them transition from like coming in for us, like they're at a certain point, they deal with injury, and then as they blossom and go out back, like they have more like confident about them, right? Because there's something about sport that cannot be taught elsewhere, not in school, and is an element of ownership, right? The fact that like if a fly ball coming to you, calling for it, that's you taking ownership of that play, and it's on you to make it or not, right? It's literally a binary thing. It's like, do you catch it? Yes or no? Yes, great, good job. No, that's on you, right? It's taking ownership all the time, and I feel like if you don't play sport, you don't get exposure to that. And without exposure to ownership, I think you can't really keep yourself accountable in so many different ways. Like clearly, you're still taking care of yourself. You're in great shape. So talk about how do you still keep that ownership mentality within yourself to make sure that you are taking care of your body, that you're still doing the best thing. You're still coming to us to make sure you take care of your injury and all of that stuff. So how do you pretty much like make sure that never leave you in the first place?
Well, I do it to keep up with the young kids on the basketball court at the gym, the little 21-year-olds. Like try to keep up. Like I can still play with you. It keeps me young. It forces me to actually work out and try to keep my body right. And LeBron James pays $1 million on his body. I could pay what. I could pay money for my body too. Like, I can't pay $1 million for my body, but it's something like, well, the reason why I came here too was because of my tendonitis in my knee. And Ronnie, our good friend, he was like, oh, I know this place, Myokinetix. I'm like, what's that? It's a place. No, just go to, just say you know me or whatever. I came in, I was like, all right. I didn't know what to expect, And I came in and I was like, oh, that's nice. A little consultation we have going on, and I was going to get, it's called the PRP shot in my knee. I got that done once before. And I was like, here's the story with that one. I got the PRP shot, and then I didn't really, rehab it. I just got it. I was like, oh, man, my knee feels great.
Yeah.
And then I had a softball tournament for the fire department. Like a week later, I was like, maybe I could play. I feel good. My knee just blew up. I was so sore. I couldn't put my knee on the ground. I was like, I can't have that with firefighting too. I want to stay young to be able to move with all that gear on and through fires and everything. And I basically was like, all right, something has to happen. So I went to Ronnie. Ronnie said, come here. And then ever since, and then acupuncture mixed with the treatment and the one-on-one experience here, like I think that's great here. I feel great now. And I just come for like little knick-knack injuries now, but like.
Do you fake injury to come in here just to hang?
Of course. Of course. It's the best place ever.
No, I appreciate it, man. And like the whole concept behind Myokinetix was like to like give the best of the best treatment modalities and experience and service to regular people, to anyone, make it accessible. Because like when you were playing in college, like these kind of treatment only exists in D1 or pro.
Yes. Right?
For regular people. And I would argue, like I say, with your job, there's way more risk compared to the pro guys, right? Their body just worth more.
Yeah.
It costs LeBron more than $1 million if he were to get hurt. So that's why he's okay spending $1 million. It's a return on investment, right? But for you, God forbid something happen, it will cost you not money, but actually your life or your teammates.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. That's most, because you never know what's gonna happen. Like you can get something. You don't know what the day is gonna bring in the fire department. You can have no calls. You can have 20-something calls. You can have whatever, but then you're putting your life on the line. You don't know what kind of fire you're gonna get, or if a motor vehicle accident, like something you just don't know. And I just, I'm grateful for my job, but it's still a risk that I'm putting on the line.
100%. What I want to ask you, man, is since how long you been doing firefighting for?
About 9 years now.
So let's take it back 9 years ago of who you were before and who you are now. What have being a firefighter taught you when it comes to life?
Don't take life for granted. Life, that's a good question. I've grown a lot from the last 9 years. I was 26-ish when I got on the job. Like I guess I was still like a baby, really. I was still living at home and everything, but it taught me like to just grow up and become like the man that I am now.
And I mean, every first responder I spoke to, and I always give credits of, obviously there's a huge element of courage, bravery when it comes to that. And we have a saying in Myokinetix, is like, for every staff, they kind of know. I say it all the time. It's like, we got to slay dragons. Like, so like pretty much running into the abyss, facing the problem you don't want to face, and then do your best to come out the other side. And I think that's what you pretty much do like on a daily basis, man.
Thank you. I do that. Like, just slaying the dragon. That's the we call that too, slaying the dragon. Like you're going into a building, you just gotta slay the dragon. You just gotta do it.
Yeah, and another thing I also noticed too, and I want you to speak on this because we have a lot of young listener, and what I've noticed is that jobs like firefighter, police, like all the traditional role that kind of like keep our society together is almost being treated as an afterthought. Like, I'm going to go do X, Y, and Z first before I do this, right? Like, my dad was in the army in Thailand, and like he obviously served the country. He was away all the time. And I knew growing up, like, I just didn't have the guts to do that. Like, that's not for me. I can help people. I can help society in some way. And to me, I chose healthcare. So I want to see, like, if you were to like talk to a young person right now who's like on the fence of trying to figure out what to do, what would you say to them to kind of sway them to like, hey, this is a great career. You get to make impact on people. You have a real meaningful day, like whether you get to, hang out with people that you work with or get to even rescue some people. Like, how would you, in a way, recruit them to follow your footsteps and become a firefighter?
Well, first, with firefighting, you work one day and then you're off 3 days.
There you go.
So the schedule is amazing right then and there. That's the selling point right there. You get great benefits. You get to help save people. You have a brotherhood, family outside of your own family. It's a selfless job. Like if you're into helping people and you want to make the community better, definitely just take a test, take the test. And we're always looking for firefighters. They're looking for police officers. It's a great job. It's a selfless job.
Yeah, I think with most people that I have the pleasure to like talk to, speak to, who are extremely fulfilled with what they do when it comes to their day to day, because I'm trying to surround myself with more of those people, right? Where like they can run successful company or whatever it is, but I just know they're generally happy and content day to day. And that's what I'm trying to like emulate a little bit more, right? Because life is short. You know how it is. I want to have more good days than bad days. And my definition of good days is not whether I want something. It's like how satisfied I am with what I have. And I think, having a meaningful job is a huge part of having a fulfilled life. So would you say, what you do now, is it extremely meaningful to you? And how does it impact you on the day to day? Obviously, it's hard. But how do you come home and be like, oh, you know what? That was a fantastic day. I get to do X, Y, and Z.
It's definitely meaningful. It's very meaningful. Like I enjoy helping people. Like I enjoy helping out my community, the community that I grew up in, West Orange, taking care of the residents, saving people, taking people we take a lot of people to the hospital, healthcare. We ride EMS. So we're helping that in that way too as well. People who are sick, and I love what I do. I love what I do.
And as far as like physical requirement go, right? Like how would they have to prepare for that, the test, the physical test?
The physical test is basically you have to train with a weight vest on. You have like a 50-pound vest on, and you're doing an obstacle course with dragging hose, going upstairs, going downstairs, picking up like basically a 90-pound bag up and down 12 flights of stairs.
Oof.
So it's I would train a lot of legs, definitely, because those stairs, after the stairs, is no joke. It's like an obstacle course, and it's rough. It's rough on your body, but I think now it's pass or fail. So, because back then when I did it, it was a time limit, so it counted towards your score mixed with your written score. But now it's just pass or fail. I think you have like 5 minutes to do it. It's doable. It's very doable, but that's probably was the toughest challenge of the physical part of getting on the job, just the obstacle course.
But obviously, anything can be trained for, especially with the physical stuff. As far as like the written stuff, like, is there resources they can look up to study for the exam?
They have like special courses for the exam now. They didn't have that when I took it like 9 years ago or 14 years ago, whenever I took it back then. But now there's like study guides and courses to help people out. It's like basic math, visual learning, visual cognitive, I guess, if they did something, how do you feel about that? Would you like it or disagree to it? But it's not, well, I don't know how the new test is. That's how the old test was. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you need like a college degree or?
No, you don't need a college degree.
Okay.
So you can go straight out of high school. Once you turn 18, you can take the test and join the force.
Mm-hmm. So as far as like, obviously you're a close niche with the people you work with, how do you guys keep each other accountable, especially when it comes to like taking care of your health and your fitness?
We do like a Biggest Loser challenge.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like we get everybody's weight. We try to eat healthy, make everybody look good. Because firefighters, heart disease is like a big risk for us.
Really?
Yes, it's a big risk. So we have this Captain Bugio. It's like a program. He like does like heart. What does he do? Yeah, it's like a heart training course.
It's kind of like a stress test.
Stress test. That's what it is. Stress test. And then it's like, I think he does it for us, for firefighters and for our well-being, because that's like a number one cause of firefighter deaths outside of like fires, basically.
Wow. That's really interesting. I definitely want to look more into that, because I mean, obviously heart disease is huge in this country to begin with, and oftentimes people have like an episode of heart attack during the winter when they go shovel snow, and next thing you know,
just like that.
Yep. It's one of those things where like my philosophy when it comes to life is like, if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. Right. And that's how I approach like training in all aspects, like working out. Like, am I hitting all, like, obviously we like to work, the bodybuilding stuff, make sure you look good, but doing the boring work like zone 2 cardio, all those things, no one wants to do it, right? And I would also argue too, because I hear this all the time. People was like, yeah, I don't need to work out. I play pickup basketball, this and that. I was like, how often do you play? What's the level of intensity? Like, because they all elicit different benefits, right? And I think you need to be able to attack it from all angle. And, obviously heart disease also linked to like different diet habits, right?
Yes.
It's so easy for us to eat bad.
Oh, it's way easy to eat bad. Like I try to eat healthy. Like I try, but you have your little binge days. You go off the wagon a little bit. Like at the firehouse, some days you go off the little diet, but we try to eat healthy on the firehouse to maintain our health.
Yeah, and because it's so readily available, like for me, like I think us as society has shifted from not having food to having too much food, And now the challenge is really willpower.
Yes.
Do you have the willpower to say no to all these things? Because now you and I can go on Uber Eats and like we can get anything.
Just like that. It's so accessible to us now. They deliver it to our door. Like, you don't have to go out to get anything. It's just right to your door, and it's just an app, you know?
Dude, I was watching a stand-up comedian. He was like, the next step would be people shooing the food for you and then just put it in your mouth and then digest it for you.
I'm sure in the near future, probably
we're like
something.
5 to 10 years away from like, have you seen that movie WALL-E where everyone's just like obese, but they don't move, they just lay, and they don't talk to each other, they just FaceTime each other, but you can be next to each other, and then they'll order food, and then the robot will come in, they bring you food, and you just keep talking to people. I think that's where we're heading, especially with like VR. Can you imagine
VR,
that?
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna do one of those VR things on Sunday.
The sandbox.
Yeah. I think it's called Deadwood Alley.
Oh yeah, zombie stuff.
Have you done it?
No, dude.
No?
That freaks me out. Like I get motion sick. This is how I know I'm getting old. Like what I like stuff like that get me so nauseous. I can't even sit in the backseat of the car anymore. I used to make fun of my mom for it. Now I was in the backseat the other day. I'm like, oh my God, I'm nauseous. This is terrible.
Oh, you couldn't be a firefighter then.
Oh no. That's why I say give you the bravery.
Sitting in the back. Ugh.
Yeah. No, it's nuts, man. But listen, dude, before I let you go, I definitely got to ask you some pointed questions. So, as far as like obviously being a firefighter and what you do every day and you're extremely proud of, what are something that you would like to share to your fellow first responders? Maybe some advice and all of that stuff with what you've been through. And I don't think many first responders have athletic career like you have, right? Mm-hmm. And what would some of those advice be for them to, keep on taking care of their body and making sure that they are, protecting themselves so that way they can keep serving the community that they're in.
You gotta keep you don't want to let yourself go.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know a lot of firefighters and police officers let themselves go. Like they go through the academy, they come out fit, and then they get comfortable in the job.
Mm-hmm.
And they just let themselves go. But you got to keep up, stay healthy, not even just for you or your brothers or anything, like for your family too.
Mm-hmm.
You want to live a long life after you retire,
mm-hmm.
And get your pension, like, come on.
Yeah. The pension's not worth it if you're not there to enjoy it.
Exactly. But just, you gotta take care of yourselves.
I think that's great advice, man. We just had someone come in to talk about like financial planning with the team, and I think in the finance world they do an amazing job at say, hey, how much money do you need to live this kind of lifestyle when you're X amount of age, right? But what they don't talk about now is like, what kind of life are you gonna have? Do you have the health, right? Mm-hmm. Can you even go up and down the stair? Like,
that's a big
why
thing.
is it that we plan only financially, but we don't plan for our health. Right? Everyone, and I've learned this early on when my dad passed away suddenly in 2019.
Sorry
and
to
for
hear
me,
that.
Thank you, man. And I've learned that like you can't take life for granted. There's like the set, we have an hourglass here, right there. Like always remind me of like every time like there's an hourglass somewhere for everybody,
mm-hmm.
right? The time's ticking down. But if you were blessed enough to live to 100 years old, what would your life look like? Do you want to be an agile 100 years old, or are you going to be one of those 100 years old that need assistance for everything?
I'm going to be like this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be still a physical specimen.
Yeah, dude, that's what I say to my buddy all the time. My best friend from high school, we work out together twice a week,
mm-hmm.
and what we say to each other is like, I'm just trying to be in the 1% percentile of our age group in every category. And that's our goal. I was like, I don't need to compare myself to a younger version. I was like, based on this group, 35 and over, am I on the top 1%? That's how I stay competitive. And you know my thought on being competitive, man. Like I don't need to prove myself to anyone anymore. And listen, man, I appreciate your time with just coming in. I know the listener, the parents, even the kids will definitely take away from this. I hope we have sparked a lot of interest in people going back to consider firefighter as a proud career choice, because society absolutely needs it. And without you guys, without all the first responder, it'll be chaos.
It'll be a lot of chaos. A lot of chaos.
Yeah.
But I love my job. I love it. And whoever wants to take the test, take the test. It's a life changer, honestly. It really is. If you I don't know what to say about it. I just love my job.
So if someone were interested, can they reach out to you? If so, how can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram. The whole show, 23.
There you go. 23 for Jordan.
20. No, not for Jordan. It's for me. It's my number. It's my number. Well, so my number in high school was 22, and then when I went to college, a senior had 22. So I couldn't get that number. So the next number available was 23, and then I was like, all right, I guess everyone say, oh, you want to be like Michael Jordan? Oh, no, I just had to choose that. I just had to choose that number. I got stuck with it.
That's before you go. All right, top 3 basketball player.
Ooh,
there you go.
Top 3.
It's on tape.
Top 3. I'm a Michael Jordan guy. He's number 1.
All right.
He's number 1. I got to go LeBron and Kobe.
LeBron and Kobe? So
LeBron,
Kobe 3?
then Kobe. Kobe 3.
I go the opposite. I go Kobe and LeBron. Kobe's different, man.
He's different. He's a different beast. Like his mindset was
I
like
say
Jordan.
give LeBron's body to Kobe.
Oh.
And
that's it. It wouldn't be a question.
Exactly.
It wouldn't even be a question.
So I think we're all in agreement then.
Yeah.
That is Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron.
Sure. It's hit or miss. It's like an asterisk between those two, you know?
Exactly. But Ryan, man, thank you so much for your time,
Thank
bro.
you.
I appreciate this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome.